All right, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Now, folks are still coming in, but we want to get started to respect everybody's time. It'll take us through the agenda. Let's see what's going to go. Am I not controlling the presentation? I'm trying to click. Okay, there we go. All right, so tonight's objectives are to review and give feedback on the TPAC annual report, review and approve the Division Title I Family Engagement Policy, and hold elections for next school year's TPAC Executive Board members. I think we're kind of doing that in reverse, but I think. Yvonne, you let me know. Maybe we give a little time for folks to get in. Can we do the family engagement policy first?
Yeah, Mike, we can definitely do that. Gina, thank you. All right, so each of you should have received a copy of the Division Title I Family Engagement Policy. And what's important to know is that this Division Title I Family Engagement Policy is sort of like the cover letter that goes with the school policy and compacts that each of your schools develop. And so in a nutshell, what that document does, it's very technical language. Nina?
Hello. I just wanted to ask if we could let the Spanish interpreter ask people if they need the interpreter. There might not be anyone, but I don't know if they know without her making that announcement in Spanish.
Yes, thank you, Nina.
Sure. Buenas tardes. ¿Hay alguien en la audiencia que necesite interpretación? Hay interpretación en español esta noche. Déjenos saber levantando la mano.
Okay, thank you, Beatrice. I appreciate that. And Nina, thank you for that reminder. So that document, we know that it has a lot of legalese, right? Because it is partially direct quotes from the federal guidelines. So in essence, what it does is it outlines the Title I expectations under the Every Student Succeeds Act, specifically Section 1116, which references the parent and family engagement. So ultimately, the Title I expectations around that are that outreach is conducted to all parents and family members, and that we implement programs, activities, and procedures to engage parents and family members in Title I programs. And that really is the purpose of the school policy and compact that each of your schools will be developing. And an annual meeting will be held where that is discussed, and then that is provided to parents at the start of the school year. In addition, it details a plan for implementation of programs, activities, and procedures with meaningful consultation with parents of participating children. So in general terms, it outlines events and activities, conferences, trainings that schools may have either during the day or before school or after school or evening hours to engage families in consultation and discussion of their child. And that can come also in the form of parent-teacher conferences. It could happen as part of back to school night and open houses and things like that. And so part of what that school policy does is it provides those opportunities and explicitly lets parents know what those opportunities are. And then also, there is a requirement that we have to maintain a district parent and family engagement policy. So the document that was emailed you and then what the schools develop, we have to provide that to parents in writing, and that should be developed in collaboration with the parents at the annual meeting. Part of the policy also details, and what TPAC does is TPAC serves to be one of those opportunities for parents to be engaged. And so our Title I Parent Advisory Committee, our TPAC, our goals are aligned with that district policy. And so our goals for TPAC is to increase family engagement in Title I planning and implementation, strengthen the home and school partners. We know that students are more successful when their families are engaged. Also to develop leadership skills and advocacy skills. You attend TPAC and your leadership to take the information back and share it not only with your principal, but your school community. You are all absolutely developing leadership skills and advocacy skills that certainly I would encourage you to put that on a resume, because that's an outstanding experience that you can use for resume building and for engaging many of your families within your building. And then the biggest area that TPAC fills is to respond to the charge from the school board in the annual report. And so this evening, Mike will walk you through the drafted annual report that will be presented to the school board on June 22nd. That report also needs to be submitted to the school board 2 weeks in advance. So the feedback that you're going to provide tonight will definitely inform the school board annual report. And so the division policy requirements, we're required to review those annually. And so that is our purpose tonight for bringing the policy to your attention. We also will make sure that we do a vote to update the policy to reflect tonight's review. And the division policy, it's provided to families at the beginning of the school year through multiple means. We provide schools flexibility in how they wish to provide that to parents. Most schools provide it through a welcome packet or a student handbook. All the schools will place the division and the school policies on their Title I websites. So that is the main, those are the main forms I've also seen principals send links out through a News You Choose. I've seen it emailed. So schools have the flexibility in how they wish to provide that information to parents. So part of what we need to do this evening is you need to give us approval. You'll notice that on the draft that we sent you that it had June of last year on it. And because we are required on a yearly basis to review that policy with you, we need to make sure that you approve that so that we can update that approved date on the division policy and get that ready to send to schools. So Gina, would you provide us a little background on how they're going to be able to approve the division policy?
Thank you, Yvonne. This evening, we are going to actually complete our approval through the BBCU poll feature, and we have Courtney, who has set that up for the team, who will explain the directions.
Hi, everyone. So in just a second, I'm going to start a poll, and you're going to see the question, do you approve the Title I Division Family Engagement Compact Policy? You'll have two options, yes or no, and you just take your cursor and you click on yes or no, whether you approve or you don't approve the Title I Division Family Engagement Compact Policy. If you're on your phone, you should be able to just touch yes or no and take a vote. Are there any questions before I go ahead and start the poll? Okay.
I just want to give folks time if they had any comments on the policy itself or any questions about it. I guess seeing no hands raised, there are none.
No, so I'm going to go ahead and start the poll. You should see it in front of you now. You just click on yes, you approve, or no, you do not.
Hi, Maria. Absolutely. You can abstain, given that you just reviewed it a few moments ago. As indicated, it is a pretty technical document. So absolutely, you may definitely do that. Mashika, can this be amended in the future? The Title I Division Family Engagement Policy is aligned with the Virginia Department of Education's expectations, and it has been approved by them. I mean, we can certainly make minor adjustments to it if you feel that that's a need. Once we've made those adjustments, we would need to make sure that it is in compliance, it remains in compliance with the Virginia Department of Education.
Thank you, Yvonne. It looks like we have one more person to vote outside of the Title I staff and interpreter. Actually, no. Now we're at yes 13 and no 0. So everyone has completed the poll outside of the Title I staff.
All right. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time regarding the Title I Division Family Engagement Policy. And Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you on election.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see where it's at. To give us the most time to focus on the report, I want to get through this topic as well, or this item of business. So I don't know if you all set up, if it's similar to a poll or if it's a forum. What is the format for folks making their votes? Well, is there some
We're
document that
also
they?
we're doing the poll as well.
Okay, perfect. So Courtney, if you want to pull it up, I can talk to it briefly. Ha! Uh-oh, nothing. All no's. This is bad. All right, so I'll talk through this. So the point really, we have just about almost all the executive board members. Unfortunately, one, has had to step down. That leaves us 2 vacancies in the executive board. And for those of you who've been through several meetings over the course of the year and aren't sure what it entails, I mean, really, it's just having a little more time to talk about some of the issues, connect with some of the presenters, more in depth, and also to just get a better sense of how things work in the county. Because we receive great support from the Title I office and everybody in the Office of Professional Learning and Family Engagement. There is an extra meeting that you would have to do from not every month, but you'd have extra meetings to kind of do some brainstorming and planning out for future meetings. But I'll tell you, I was first voted on the executive board before I ever attended a meeting, just from not being there. That was my reward. We'll call it that. So if folks who are interested, like I said, we have 2 vacancies. So if anyone here, and I'll even put that out in a subsequent email, if anybody is interested, you can definitely reach out to any of us in the executive board and we can answer questions you may have. Or if there's any right now. Yeah, I'm not answering that question. I didn't say any question. I mean, any question about executive board. You're going beyond what I get paid for on this committee. And if those who think I actually get paid, then joke is on you or me. I think we're good to move on. I think everybody that can vote. Everybody who's TPAC has voted.
And just to share the directions, so each individual will pop up individually and everyone will vote on that person, board member.
The next position is up. Do you want Nina to be the next co-chair for TPAC? Okay, the next one is a little bit trickier because it's where you're going to have to choose 5 people to be the members at large. So it's going to take me a minute to just type their names in right now.
Mike, so we're adding the returnees to the executive board. My wondering was, are there any other, we asked candidates that were interested to reach out to you. Did you have any other names that you wanted put forward as part of the voting?
I did not hear from anybody, so no, no, thank you. We have to take out number 3 because she's no longer here.
So Mike, instead of changing it around, is it okay if we just tell people that and then that way they don't give her a vote? They vote 1, 2, 4, or 5?
That's fine.
It's not,
Okay.
it's not letting you multiple select.
Okay, hang on
So
one second.
let's stop it and redo it.
So this poll does not give you the opportunity to do multiple choice questions. You
So
can
could we
just
just do a
select
yes?
one answer.
Could we do a yes or no,
Sure.
just to add the 4 to the executive board?
And you said take out the third one, right?
Number 3, yeah, Judge Rivera.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
Can the record please state my name is spelled MSHYKA? So this is a legitimate vote. Thank you.
The next one is up. Do you want Roberto Ho de Moras from Dogwood to be an at-large member? The next one is, do you want Samson Addo to be an at-large member? And the last one, do you want Heather Hale as the teacher liaison and at-large member? Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Courtney. No, that was not the most fun process, one by one by one. We had to do it, so I appreciate it very much. Okay, so I will pull up the report and just highlight some parts. I think everybody got it, but it's worth. I wanted to touch on a few points so you know it was intentionally not long, because you really don't need to spend too much time to make a point. Let me pull it up and share my screen. Hopefully I don't get the funhouse mirror effect. Let's see. Just taking a minute to come up. Let me know when folks are able to see it. Let me try again. Okay. So can everyone see it? I can't read the chat, so someone could just speak up if they can see it.
No, Mike, we can't see it. Now we can. It took a
Wonderful.
minute.
All right. Okay. It's telling me maybe it'll take a second to show up. It's telling me that it's sharing, so it's still not coming up.
No, it's sharing right now. It says committee overview. It just was
Okay,
delayed.
perfect. Okay, no problem. Thank you. All right. So I want to bring folks' attention to page 4 because there's some background information that we'll have to check, make sure it's accurate. But really the meat of it is what we met on through the year. And I just wanted to highlight that we had 5 subject matter specific sessions. It was the advanced academics in October. In December was changes to the SR&R with a focus on discipline. In January, we had a double, even though it was a short presentation. We had the career technical education information session and anti-racist enhancements to the curriculum. Then in February, we had the family engagement efforts. That was information updating about the survey not taking place, but there were a lot of, at this time, and there were a lot of questions about how distance learning, we were all asked to, if we could, get from our school, get a sense of, what was working well, what was not. So it was really like family engagement through the distance learning lens. And we amended our bylaws to increase our membership and representation. And then last month we had discussion on social emotional learning. And this is the time as we get into breakouts for folks to talk about the things that stuck out or areas that we should mention and give time to put in a recommendation. But also, let me scroll through. Based on the meetings that we had and even follow up with some of our presenters and ripeness of issues, to me it seemed like the AAP, the CTE, and the anti-racist changes to the social studies curriculum were the major, I think those were the most discussed areas that we had throughout the year when topics were presented. And those seem to be like the best places to make some recommendations. But beyond that, it's process in general. We're one of, I think, 8 citizen advisory committees that provide reports to the school board. And over the past several years, there's been collaboration, communication outside of our meetings that really, made it painfully obvious that there needs to be more streamlined communication and collaboration and alignment of what we're working on, because often, even if it's a different topic, we're trying to get some of the same things done, but it is inefficient the way it's currently run because we don't have a natural, organic method of talking with each other, communicating with each other, even having, a roundtable discussion. It's all something that members of committees have to initiate on their own. And, not only is it inefficient, it's not as even as strong as the advocacy could be on certain points. Like, for example, the Advanced Academic Programs Advisory Committee had been recommending for years that a full-time advanced academic resource teacher be placed in, schools, Title I schools, and we had recommended that a couple years ago as well. And in looking at some of their previous reports, that's how I kind of found out they'd been doing it for a while. They had been recommending it for a while. And, while the experts, I believe, should be the ones who, are listened to, if it's something that's in our mutual interest, then we absolutely should team up, build a coalition, and, make that same ask. And right now, the way the committees are structured, it really doesn't make that process, or it doesn't really make that a reality unless we do go above and beyond, to communicate and reach out with folks. And Nina can attest, because we met with, actually, these were the three, where the recommendations are, the three folks who we met with as follow-up in putting the report together. And that's where we were able to get a lot of useful feedback and information. But two of them being the CTE Advisory Committee and the AEP Advisory Committee would have been much more helpful and useful if we had some type of, agenda sharing or cross participation at meetings or discussions about, brainstorming sessions, whatever it is. That just hasn't been really done. But beyond that, how the committees themselves are populated, it's not a standard process. The majority of them, I believe, are through school board appointed. This committee has principal nominations, and there's a lot of folks who have no idea that these committees exist. And the more people that are aware and participate, the greater overall engagement you're going to have on all the issues that go on in the county, and just a more informed overall set of stakeholders. So the Public Engagement Committee is going through this review, and outside of being contacted by school board member, there was never a discussion. At least I didn't. I think some other members had a discussion. I didn't yet. So I don't know where they are in that process. And that's something that I know we'll be meeting with school board member Ramesh, who's our representative, our liaison. But, I just want folks to kind of think about your own process for getting on this committee and, your experience through the work we've done. Now, granted, it's been a bit different virtually, because while we had that option for virtual participation for years, it was never mandatory until last spring. So recognizing that difference, just kind of reflect on, what your participation experience has been, some things that have worked well, some things that, haven't worked well and need to be better. I'm going to go back up for a second to just touch on some of these points. The main takeaway, and it seems to always be, is that communication needs to be better for advanced academics. Like that's no matter what, it does not seem to be, even if there's been a lot of work to improve the information on the website, and there's been information sessions at schools more regularly. I think it's even required. They're supposed to have it too. There still seems to be gaps in understanding and awareness about it. And, just through experience over the past few years, I think that, maybe it needs to be less about getting kids in to a program or getting kids into level 4, and more about getting level 4 to every kid, every student. And I think that whether we have a representative on APAC or them on us or both, a lot of what, they aim to do and what the county wants to do in terms of diversifying who has access to advanced academics, our our group should be a stakeholder in that, since our school communities are most impacted and stand to be impacted by policies and any changes or any processes that are currently going on. So the recommendation to bring to your attention, I don't know how when we break out, folks are going to be able to look through parts of the report. Hopefully they were able to pull it up, but I just wanted to highlight that. Ensure more robust delivery of advanced academics to all students. Develop data among Title I schools that illustrates whether services are being provided with greater equity, and create opportunities for greater collaboration and engagement between TPAC and TPAC. For CTE, the biggest takeaway was that we don't know enough about it, and it is absolutely a legitimate and valuable and underused right now career path for students, and a lot of that just comes from a lack of awareness. So, it starts with getting the word out at our level. Like if you're hearing about something in 7th or 8th grade, it's kind of too late, even if technically it's not. You're behind a whole lot of other people who are aware, are participating, and are helping to develop and plan out, what a student's high school journey is going to look like. So it has to start at the elementary school level, so folks see it as another legitimate option, and even not even an only, not a singular path, but one of many that students can take advantage of, even if they don't go the entire. Even if they take a few courses here or there, it still gives them the exposure and helps put in their mind other ideas besides just, if I'm going to college right now, immediately, or at all. It's not necessary when you have jobs that are currently well-paying and unfilled because the training, there's not enough people who have the training needed. So that's really what the recommendation is about. And as with the previous one, collaboration between TPAC and CTE Advisory Committee, because in terms of the materials seem to be only in English. And I've talked to folks who work in high schools about how there seems to be a certain amount of English you must speak to participate in it. And, I think there's a lot of areas where, despite, and Charles was really clear about it when he presented to us, but it would help to have us speak to it as well, that, we're being left out. Many students at our schools, as they move on in their career, are being left out. And, there's a lot of voices and perspectives that the TPAC can bring that can help make this program something that is truly being taken advantage of by all students. And the last one that I'll touch on, I know I went kind of out of order. It's about the curriculum changes, social studies. And I know that somebody actually said it in a previous meeting. So again, this is a time to add things. This is not the final. Somebody mentioned, language arts having similar changes, which I agree with. But I think fundamentally there has to be, the steadfast determination that this is really like only the beginning. We have a long way to go, but, despite all the criticism that will come from this, if you pay attention to anything in that is either on TV or social media, you hear people say all this critical race theory, teaching people to hate this country and all those things. It's a backlash to how poorly people in this country have been educated. And so, the real recommendation is that, staff receives the tools that they need and that there's greater collaboration with the community to continue these anti-racist advancements. Because again, this is scratching the surface. We have a long way to go, but we have to not be surprised that there's going to be folks resistant to this. That was a lot. And let me give time if folks have anything they want to say before we break out. And if it's Courtney, Yvonne, or Gina who's going to set us up in our breakouts. But if anybody wanted to say anything else before we went there. Okay. So I guess you can send us out as you will. I mean, however you need to. Are there any instructions for us, or we will just be placed in the rooms?
Hi, Mike. Yes, what we're going to do is go ahead and break us all up into 3 different groups. And then, of course, if we could have just some facilitators in each of the groups collecting notes. I went ahead and sent the note collecting document. I'll put it up in the chat for everyone to see. And if you can give me just 20 seconds, I'll move us into groups. Hi, team. If we can go ahead and use the doors to go into each group. Group 1, I have, if you could choose a group to join, and just record the notes from the group based on the group label on that note page, that would be great. I'm going to go ahead and move myself into Group 1.
I'll go into group 3.
I can go to group 2.
I'll go to 1.
Hi, Nora. Were you in a group?
Hi.
Were
I
you
was
in a group?
I was in the first group, Mike. Could you put me back
Okay,
there
I'm
on
with
the
you.
screen? Okay, thanks.
Yep. Where'd she go?
All right, I think everybody is back in the main room. So if we want to go through our groups and give some takeaways on, you know, what was talked about, we're gonna have another breakout about going forward. But what are some of the reflections that folks have made, in the report based on their experiences, just what they read, or how the year has gone. I was in group 1 and I didn't have really much more of anything to add, but if Gina or Nora wanted to share something, they absolutely can.
Sure, Mike. One of the things we suggested or a focus on is the idea of ensuring that anti-racism is taking place across all content, not just social studies, so that our students have a real understanding about the past and making connection to what's currently going on.
We were in group 2 and we discussed a couple of things. One was participation in TPAC. How can we keep representatives coming, engaged, participating in the work, as well as finding value in the work? And how do we get the important messages to as many families as possible and at all schools? So how can we keep everyone in and participating and finding value in the work? And then another thing was free and reduced numbers. Free and reduced numbers, I apologize, I have 4 kids, getting all of the information out to families and communicating it, communicating all of our messages, but mostly the free and reduced applications was a main point Nina talked about. Nina, feel free to add anything that I'm missing from what you said.
Sure. I'll just add the general point I mentioned. This PEBT program has offered over $1,000 for most families whose kids were virtual and approved for free or reduced lunch since the end of the last school year. That's $1,000 in a card or in the EBT card to buy food from grocery stores. And I didn't feel FCPS did enough. I mean, the individual schools I guess I'm part of, or the school communities I'm part of, I didn't feel like there was enough push out of information to say, hurry up, get in the free and reduced lunch application so that you can get these funds. And now it's too late. The funds are based on when the application was approved, and just in the future, I hope that families, when there are these kinds of opportunities, that we connect much more with families and make sure that they're aware of what they need to do to get these types of benefits.
And Nina, to your point, I just happened to go on the website to find a link for that. And actually, as of today, there was another announcement about the benefits. So I put that link in the chat, and we'll make sure that as part of our TPAC follow-up that link is included.
Thank you.
Group 3, we shared how we agree with what Mike has shared with us. Each session we learned a lot and agree with what we've learned or what Mike and the team have shared with us. And Maria also shared that it's nice to hear the observations that have been presented. She doesn't hear much of this conversation in the community, so it's nice to know that even though these things are happening, even though it's not even though they know these things are going on, it's nice to hear it actually being verbalized. She's happy to be with like-minded parents where she can share her thoughts about different topics and subjects, and that's it. So I want to thank Group 3 for participating. Group 3 members for participating.
We have a group 4, don't we?
No, there was just 3 groups, Mike.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so we had talked about how to get, because we were able to see as some of the notes were coming up. And for those who, well, I think we kind of span both before COVID, during, and or now. We had pretty good momentum when we were meeting in person, even though, our options for virtual have been in place for years. I think we were building a pretty good sense of community in our in-person meetings. We were averaging at least 20, and this is non, staff member attendees at our meetings, and, a lot of great discussions. And, like so many other things, COVID, threw that off, hit a lot of the momentum. And while it is easier to click on to a link from your house and to get in your car or get a ride or drive somewhere to a building, a year ago, I'd never imagined that 7 to 9 p.m. would be prime time for a virtual meeting. And that's kind of what it is. I think there's just a lot of fatigue in getting online for a meeting. And it's just difficult to maintain, that same level of focus that there is when you're in person. And I think particularly with this group, there is something missing. And, there's plans to bring, majority of students back in next, in the fall. And I'm guessing that means groups such as ours will meet again. We'll start meeting in the building as well. I don't know, Leona, whether, it's something you all know yet or can disclose, but just thinking ahead, I mean, I think it will benefit, this group if we're able to do that. But okay. But to, the point about engagement, I mean, it's kind of tied to, the portion about this process at all. The entire citizen advisory committee process, it's who's informed about this, who understands it, how clearly are families, aware of what they're supposed to do, how they get on this group. That ties to the level of engagement we're going to have, outside of the distance challenges that have been put upon us by the pandemic, the amount of people, and just like as Maria said in her breakout, a lot of folks aren't aware that these types of conversations are happening. And so I think that, one of the biggest steps that need to be taken is to really publicize the existence of these groups. It shouldn't just be lodged on the school board member page. It should be something that's in school communications, PTA communications, school board member newsletter communications, News You Choose, all those things. Nina, you had a comment?
I just had a question. I don't know if anyone here knows, but is there any write-up, like a summary about what advisory committees are that's in languages other than English, the main languages of FCPS, like Spanish, Arabic, and the other languages that they usually translate content to?
Nina, can you ask your question again so I can make sure I understand it? Are you asking which advisory groups have translators, or are you asking is there a specific advisory group for multilingual families?
No. What I actually meant was, is there like a document or somewhere on the FCPS website that talks about what advisory committees in general
Yes. Yes, there actually is. I could show that. And then on our main website, we have the ability up at the top corner to translate any page. It'll within it. So now once you
I
click
mean,
on
the
each person's
automated
page.
translation, right? That's the one that's like Google Translate, basically.
Yeah, yeah. But this, you're right. So when we try to send things out to families, we use our actual FCPS translators, but I think on the website, because it changes so frequently, they rely on the Google Translate automatic translator.
Okay, this is great. I mean, I'm glad to know there is something that was like hopefully officially translated. I don't know about, Google Translate for Spanish, but for Arabic, it could really like sometimes, I mean, I would not recommend that, if I wanted to share like something, now I can go right to the FCPS website and get something that was an official translation into the different languages. I'm just thinking that might be a good thing to share within the parent community to get more people interested in this advisory committee and other ones.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Nora posted the link I shared earlier, which is this page here, which is the advisory committee's page for the school board, all the different committees that exist. And so you can click and see some of them are committees that are the school board committees that they run. And then there are also the advisory groups, which Title I is listed under here. And then there's other organizations that are partners. And then on this website, just like all websites, you have the ability to come up here and choose a translation, but you're right, they're not perfect. But that is an option to do. So for example, if I do that, I can click here and I can choose, and I'll use Arabic, like you said, because we know we get a lot of feedback that the Arabic one isn't perfect, but it does list them in this way when you do that. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that existed too.
Thank you.
Wait, now I don't know how to go back to English. You got to help me out.
So Nina can handle the rest of it.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
That's a really good point, and I'm sure that's being recorded, but I do think we should add that. Two parts in particular about UN resources such as the PEBT is available. There needs to be, widespread, yelling it loudly, getting it at every access point possible. Folks are aware, but also for the citizen advisory component to make sure that the translations are of a certain standard as part of. And I think there was some information about accessibility in multiple languages, but it helps to even point out what currently exists. It has to be improved. So I think based on our size, in the interest of time, I don't know that we need to go back into breakouts just to focus on for next year topics for, and I think I said this in the breakout. I should have said it in the full group. I left the chart blank because I really want that to come from, group observations, everybody's respective journey through their time on this committee, their experience in their kids' schools, and anything else, that, upon their reflection, some areas that, we're missing that we need to pay attention to, or things that we, are paying good attention to, need to pay more, need to go deeper. I want to provide space for that. And again, we had the benefit of our timing. I think because our presentation is the 22nd, we still have a bit of time to keep working this out and to keep gathering feedback from folks before it has to be. I think it has to be turned in by, is it June 7th or June 8th?
Yeah, I got to go back and check the notes, Mike, because we got an update from the board clerks and things about deadlines for things to be posted.
Mm-hmm.
It is June 8th.
Okay. Okay, thanks. So we have a little bit of time, and
I'll,
I don't want.
and I'll need to take it. Sorry, excuse me for interrupting. I apologize. We'll also have to. I have to bring it to FCPS leadership team like at least a week or two before that. It doesn't mean you still can't tweak it. I just want to let everybody know that I will do that as well.
Okay, so we're looking at beginning of June. It starts to go out beyond our space. Okay, that sounds good. I did plan on sharing respective portions with those members who Nina and I had done follow up with, just to make sure that it's all accurate. I tried not to step out and make statements that weren't true, verifiable. But we have some time. We have today is the 11th, so we have good 2-3 weeks for us to keep, especially those who weren't able to attend tonight, for them to look and reflect and provide some comments, feedback. And for next year, though, if folks can right now think about some big topics. And I know that I would put COVID impact. I'm not dismissing it, but that's going to be an issue until it's not. But I think there's some learning lessons that have come away from that in terms of strategies, approaches, that we can do some exploration or focus on. But I'm going to mute myself, and other folks, you want to raise hands or write things in the comments, or however you want to share just some areas that we could cover the upcoming year.
Hey, Mike, is this something we could also send out electronically, like a Google form, sort of to
Yeah,
get a sense, given the time and that it's a smaller group tonight?
absolutely. Absolutely. That's the benefit of the time we have. Yeah, please.
Yep. So maybe let's do that so that people can think a little bit more about it. Let's send out the report again for people to read it and kind of ground themselves again and see if there's any other topics of interest for next year.
Sounds good to me.
One thing I just want to share, and you guys know I always bring this up, but every recommendation, I would like to see accountability attached to it, accountability and data. And I think I saw that in some of the recommendations. But moving forward, any effort, this curriculum reform, all of that, I think without it being backed up by data, you know, I guess I guess we assume all the teachers will be trained a certain way or already received training. But I think just more data on outcomes, on things that improved as a result of these trainings or whatever efforts or initiatives are taken.
I think it's a point well taken, Nina. Thank you. And one of the things that I think as part of Dr. Williams' CEO action plan is calling for sort of a external group to hold us accountable to things that we say we're going to do. So I know she's reached out to a couple different stakeholder groups, including some folks on this group, but she's still making her rounds to share that. So I think that's a point well taken. If you want to add explicit language to your own report, again, you guys are the leaders and this is your report. I suggest you guys maybe add in what does that look like and sound like from your perspective. And then finally, data, as you shared, is very important. I encourage everyone on here to fill out the survey on anti-bias and anti-racist education because it kind of connects to that particular charge. So I encourage you all, if you got it in an email, to fill that out from your perspective if you feel you have something to share. It's optional. You don't have to fill it out, but the more data, the better narrative we get to tell.
Liana, thanks for reminding me. I did want to also tell everybody, and we can have this sent in the follow-up. There's a focus group on Thursday talking about the equity action plan, and the way that the invitations went out, it's about 5 or 6 stakeholder organizations at a time, but it doesn't really limit participation. So anybody who's able to make it is from 7 to 8 p.m., through the TPAC. Definitely there's just a Blackboard link. That's all you have to do to join. You ask for an RSVP, but there's the link is already was attached to the invite. So definitely, if you're able to, show up. And, just another opportunity for folks to, provide what, their perspective experience on. Nina, go ahead.
Oh, I'll just quickly say I find it actually quite ironic that after the passage of the FCPS calendar for holidays, Thursday is the Muslim holiday, like the Muslim Christmas. So, if the equity people can't get it right, I'm not really sure who can.
Duly noted.
And it's not your fault, Mike, but I just
Now
felt
I
I had,
understand.
yeah.
Now I understand.
You didn't plan it, you
Nope.
didn't pick the date, but we have that calendar, but it's clearly not very useful.
That's a good point to make that night.
I had my hand up. I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to acknowledge Martha, who was in our group 3. I don't think I acknowledged or said her name. So I also want to say thank you, Martha, along with Maria, for being in our group. Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone for their time and participation this evening. It's 8:35. I want to respect everyone's time. Be on the lookout for communications. I think, is there something being put in that folks have to fill out tonight? Any type of, is it survey or ticket? Okay, no.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
we know.
Okay. I appreciate all the support with getting the elections and the policy and everything handled in the breakouts. I know it's somewhat tedious, a lot easier when we can just turn around and do that, but it's necessary. So thank you to all. Have a good evening and be well.
Thank you.